her skin as the red flows into the night floods. Cheap beats against the out as the night sky hits the morning.
Hey, how's it going? Hello, how are you today? My name is Ashley Rose. I also go by Ashley Rose XIII. That is Roman numeral for 13 because it is my lucky number, but you can call me Ash. Welcome. This is my channel where I talk about pretty much anything in alternative punk, horror punk, goth, basically anything alternative music-wise. I just share, what's on my thoughts, what's currently going on, and I do my makeup as well at the same time, and I get ready. This is just something I used to do on my Instagram Live before I would get ready for interviews. So since I don't have time to stream, I now have this channel, which is Death Arts 13. And of course, it is sponsored by Today, Rep Sports, and Raise Energy. If you want an energy drink with zero sugar, zero calories, they're for you. Go to repsports.com. Use my code ROSENOVA. That's also link in the description. It'll be there. And you can also get, any type of like protein, nutritional items there as well, as far as like supplements. But mainly Raise Energy. And my signature flavor is Voodoo. So there you go. If you do not know who I am, I one say like and a lot. I can't change that. Well, I mean, I can change that, but I'm not going to be honest with you. That's just me being real. I'm gonna be honest with you as we are friends. Welcome. Anyways, if you do not know who I am a streamer. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist. I'm an artist as well. But yeah, I guess that's it. Writer, journalist, streamer, artist. I dabble in a lot of things. A lot of things. You could check out my interviews on distortion.media. They also have a YouTube channel as well, which is Official Distortion. So today we are going to, if you can guess by the title, we're going to talk about the Misfits. And I'm talking about original Misfits. We're going to talk about the early years because in order for me to get into the other bands that I want to talk to, oh my gosh, talk about, for instance, like Wednesday 13, Blitz Kid, anything in that genre, Nimvid, we have to, just also solo, acts like Danzig, Doyle, any of those, we have to start from the beginning. Now, this case, we're only going to go over a few bullet points as, it's not going to be it's not going to be an hour long. Well, the video might be because I take forever to do my makeup sometimes, but it'll be just some things that I know, some interesting stuff that I've seen on interviews, picked up just looking into it, just being a fan for so long. So first of all, let's begin with what is horror punk. Horror punk is a subgenre of punk rock. People would say it has like a doo-wop type of sound and feel with macabre horror influences. But my simple description of what horror punk is a subculture based genre from spawning from punk rock with horror themes. I pretty much am very to the point of it because it's evolved so much throughout all the years that, in my opinion, it expands more than doo-wop, that traditional doo-wop sound. But a lot of the bands still do have that sound. Most of them were influenced by Misfits or the Misfits, depending on how and what you want to label the band as. But essentially, in my opinion, same original guys, two different sounds. It's kind of evolved. But in this case, we're only going to talk about Glenn's Misfits, which is the original one. Now, the Misfits played their last show on October 29th of 1983 at Detroit's Greystone Hall. At the time, they had gone through two drummers, and I know what you're saying. Ashley, why are we starting there? Well, it's going to be one of the, I don't know. We're just going to go backwards from there. And we're going to talk about some facts, just different things, some tracks. Sorry, I didn't know where my foundation was. Well, let's start from there. At they played their last show and they lost two drummers at the time. And they would break up one of the many times they would break up, but they did go through a lot of different members, even during the beginning stages. So I'm just putting my foundation on. Give me uno momento because people don't agree with this, but I put a lot on. I like that full coverage effect. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so now the Misfits, they were formed in 1977 in Lodi, New Jersey. I believe that's how you say it. But either way, it's in New Jersey. They were formed in Jersey, in the good old northern eastern part of the good old US of A in 1977 from a man you may know as Glenn Danzig. Now, keep in mind, um, Danzig had or Glenn, he had plenty of experiences playing in different cover bands. I believe one of them was a Black Sabbath cover band. Now, I could be wrong on that, but I want to say one of them was a Black Sabbath cover band. He would eventually go on his solo album to cover some Black Sabbath. We'll get to that eventually in another video. We'll talk about Glenn's solo career because it's quite a lengthy one, and he's still going to this day. The name The Misfits actually came from Marilyn Monroe's last film called The Misfits. They would also have tracks in reference to Marilyn Monroe. So, and of course JFK, we will get into that, just a little touch up on it, just a little brief intro to that. Now, when the Misfits did start, Danzig played keyboards. Yes, he was a keyboard player. The first member would be Manny Martinez, who was their first drummer. Then he would meet Jerry, who was dating, I believe, one of Martinez's neighbors. And eventually, Jerry's brother, Doyle, would come in, and we'll get to how Doyle got there. So let's talk about just the influences in horror punk. We'll talk about it. Ashley, what is the skull we see everywhere that we see celebritantes wearing? Celebrities, celebritantes, people, skaters, punk rockers, metal heads. Like what is the skull? Why do we wear it? Why do we have it? A film, an old film. It was or was it a serial series? It was either a film or a serial series, but it was from 1946. They actually lifted that from well, from that serial series, it would eventually become their most known. And as we say in sports entertainment, you can see that in picture action right here. So we're going to move this over, or I might already be over there. Either way, the side of the screen, you'll see photos of what I'm talking about. The first debut of on a flyer, New York City's Maxis can New York City, New York City's or New York's Maxis, Kansas City. There you go. Sounds contradicting the way I said it, but it was on Max. It was Glenn really enjoyed the aspect of classic horror and comic books, which I think that might be how and why he had the Captain Harlock look going on, which is also it's a very common shirt that you could see a lot of people wearing is Captain Harlock, which is the traditional skull and crossbones, which I'll show you on the side as well. A lot of people wear it. I wear it. I have it on a jacket. I had a dress at one time. I had a Captain Harlock dress. And then of course Glenn would wear his skeleton print. Just, you could see a lot members of the community wearing skeleton print, and also, because it's horror, it's horror punk related, it's everything Halloween, it's Halloween all the time. So skeleton print, Glenn, I believe I heard somewhere that he actually painted his on, because the group really got into the DIY, DIY mentality, which is do it yourself. They were screening their own shirts. They were selling their own shirts. They started their own fan club and everything. So before we get to that, I don't know what color I'm going to use. So this palette that I'm using is actually from Vampyre Cosmetics. It has like some of my favorite colors in it. I usually use the one called the color called Samhain or Samhain. It's like a purple-ish color that's in the Jack-o'-lantern palette, but this time I'm using the Emily Strange palette. So that's the one I'm going with because it's one of my favorite palettes. This is actually the one I take on the road with me when I travel. Anyways, back to the Misfits. So we talked about the Crimson Ghost, the most iconic logo in punk rock, probably one of the most iconic ones, very known. And so let's talk about just a few things that have occurred and that, just things that we've heard about Misfits, that time period. We'll talk about some tracks. So let's go ahead and start with the story about the Damned tour in the UK. So it was reported that Misfits were going to go perform with the Damned. They arrive and fly to the UK, and apparently there was some misunderstanding. I'm not sure if it was exactly, everyone has a different version of the story, but the point is that they would go to the UK. They were not on the tour. This had to do with some unsigned contracts about them being on the tour with them. So they would the Damned would get added. The Damned's manager, I believe, actually, I think it was the manager, would eventually add Misfits to the tour last minute. After the tour one night, the band grew incredibly frustrated and they actually quit after one show. Apparently the gear that was provided to them was not up to par. And you're like, Ashley, why are we starting with that? Well, I'm getting to that because this is what we're going to talk about, some of the known hits. We're going to get there. So Joey Image was in the band at the time. Joey decides he's gonna quit and he's gonna leave. So he goes, gets a plane ticket, and leaves. He's like, screw you guys. I'm going home. I'm going home. Screw you guys. Fuck this. I don't know if he said that, but I in my mind, that's how I envisioned it to be. He was like, fuck this. Screw all of y'all. I'm going home. So he goes home. Glenn and Steele, who was in the band as well at the time, would stay and they would get in some altercations. There would be some complications on the tour. They would get into some, they would get into a physical altercation. Now, it was with some local skinheads. This is all reported, by the way. Not this you can find all this when you Google it. Trust me. It's there. They would land 2 nights in jail. That's right, 2 whole nights in the UK. Do I have any? No. 2 whole nights. So they have to stay, in this country that's new to them both. They have to stay the night in jail due to the altercation. That would actually lead into Glenn writing one of the most iconic songs that's on their discography, which is London Dungeon, which is actually one of my favorite Misfit songs. I actually, believe it or not, I sing it like all the time. All the time. So London Dungeon would be created due to them having to stay the night in jail in the UK, in this country that was new to them. A lot of the songs at the time that they wrote, they were all about different things, experiences like London Dungeon, but they all had that same horror macabre theme. They all had that theme, and that's what was really cool about it. So another, and since we're going to songs and we were talking about Marilyn Monroe and stuff like that, one of the tracks, I don't think I can say it on here. Well, I guess I could. I mean, you know what? We're gonna that's we'll skip over it, but I'm gonna put it on the screen just so you briefly know. Now, they, as far as, Misfits, a lot of the songs, there's rumors of like what songs or what they actually mean or what they don't mean, speculation. One of them is horror business. I saw someone report that they believed horror business had to do with Sid and Nancy, which at the time, I think horror business was actually recorded before any of that incident, that alleged incident, or whatever you may or may not believe about that. We're not going to go into that. But the other one was that it was in reference to the movie Psycho. Now, I believe it's actually more in reference to the movie Psycho. I don't think it had anything to do with whatever that other person's speculation thought it was about. I think it's about Psycho, the movie. Norman Bates and his mother. And I'll put that on the screen too. So you can see what the track I'm talking about. She is about Patricia Hearst or Patty Hearst. She was held captive in 1974, and maybe it was before that. I have to remember exactly what the date is. Either way, in 1974, she would go to commit armed robbery during during that time. And she was a socialite, she was very well known. She would blame, later on she would come out to state that she was influenced by her captors to do this. I just do the very simple. My eyeshadow, it ain't eyeshadowing today. My eyeshadow ain't eyeshadowing today, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We want it in a nice dark and purple. Because I usually wear purple eyeshadow. Huh? See, that's too much. That's too much. Sometimes you just gotta less is more, you gotta tell yourself that. Less is more, Ashley. Less is more. Oh, that's good. That's great. That's great. That's good. That's what we want right there. You know what? My nose itches. Sorry. Now they have that very DIY mentality. Um, so let's talk about their debut album, Static Age, which included 17 hours of recordings. 17 whole hours. And Glenn would he really, to this day he still is very like DIY. He still does everything himself, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. He would actually, fold and glue everything, during that time period as far as with the Misfits by hand. There it is. So they had also a limited press of Cough and Cool, which you can check out. Well, I mean, you can hear the track, so we'll get to that in a minute. Limited press of 500 copies under the name Blank Records. Under the name Blank Records. Eventually, this would introduce them to Mercury Records. Mercury Records would contact them, and I believe they wanted to make some type of like indie label or something. So either way, Mercury Records approached them. Mercury Records would approach them, and in exchange for Blank Records, whatever indie idea that they were thinking about doing, or I don't know what, I didn't work at Mercury Records at the time. I wasn't even thought of at the time, even though I'm pretty old, don't get me wrong. I was born in the 80s, but I'm late 80s. But anyways, I wasn't there. I wasn't working at Mercury Records. I don't know what their thought process was about this. But in exchange for Blank Records, Misfits requested that they get 30 hours of studio time. 30, 30, 30 hours of studio, 30 hours of studio time. so they could record. They would end up starting Plan 9 records afterwards. And yes, that would be in reference to that film Plan 9 from Outer Space. Plan 9 from Outer Space. So there's that. That's how they ended up with that studio time, and they were able to record Static Age, which you can actually find in the Misfits collection, the box set, if you had the collection. I had it like a couple times. I had to rebuy it a few times. So put this down. I had to buy it a few times, I'm not gonna lie. It came with the Misfits Fiend Club pin. That's what was great about it. Came with that, you know. Reason why you do your eyes first, especially if you wear like a lot of dark eyeshadow and you want to create that thick horror punk style look, or whatever. I don't know. That what, that's just how I've always done my makeup, and you don't fucking listen to me. I've always done it like this, and I can't. It will not change. I promise you, I will never change who I am. This is who I am. This is who I wanted to be. So, anyways, that's how they created a Static Age. The Misfits box set would include Static Age. It would also include some other tracks as well. It would include a lot of remaster tracks. Now, these remaster tracks, some people didn't like them. I personally liked them. I enjoyed the box set. I loved the box set. I wish I still had it, but you can actually catch it on all streaming platforms. It is there. And they were all written and composed by Danzig. And Doyle would come out on an interview. I believe it was a episode of Wikipedia Fact or Fiction. And he stated that Glenn did, in fact, compose and write them. He would come in, he would sing it, and they would play. And they would just merge everything together. Now, how did Doyle end up in the band? So we're going to get to that. The vegan monster, how did he get in there? And he has a very, very solid, good solo career. You should definitely check out Doyle. It's definitely more of a where things transition and progressed from music wise. So that's what I like about it. It's very heavy, and it's got elements, but it's more like heavy, and it's got elements from the second, version of Misfits, which is the Graves era. And we'll talk about that in some time in the future. But right now we're talking about this. So check out Doyle. One of my favorite Doyle albums is actually the second Doyle album, which is Doyle 2. I dig a lot of the tracks on there, and the tracks are sung by Alex Story of Cancer Slug, which you can definitely check out the Slug too. Okay. I had to see if this was a black pencil, because this is one of the ones that has like double-sided. It has green on the other end, which is pretty cool. So Steele was in the band at the time, Bobby Steele. And Doyle's brothers, Jerry was in the band, of course, still one of the original members to this day. He was in the band, and so they state Steele was very unreliable. He didn't really dedicate a lot of time to the group. Not as much as Glenn would like him to. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't all he wasn't, you know what? I don't know what his thought process was, okay? I have to stop assuming because I don't know. But either way, that would lead to frustration. And he was unreliable and he often missed practice. And that apparently is documented that that was Jerry Only's reason why. So there's that. Doyle was there. Doyle brought his own guitar and his own amp because he said that they sounded good and they sounded better. Doyle also has you know, a line of guitars too. You should go check them out. Well, apparently, since Steele was so unreliable, according to Doyle, Glenn looked at him and told him, "Here, play this." And Doyle was like, "Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I will play this and I will play those parts." So that is how Doyle ended up in the band and still to this day, obviously kicking ass around the world. Still kicking ass, going on tour. Hmm. So let's talk about the hairstyle. We'll talk about the devil lock. What is it? Why do we all have it? Why do some of us have it? Devil lock is a hairstyle that if it was iconic for the Misfits. Now, no one's exactly 100% sure who invented it. Could have been Jerry, could have been Glenn, but either way, they rocked them. Jerry still rocks his, so does his brother Doyle, which it's the iconic fringes that go in a point, almost vampiric like. So it's like a widow's peak here, and then it goes down into a point in the center of your face. Here, you know what? Let me show you a photo. It's right there. Look at it. If you're an audio and you're one of my known listeners, you know exactly what that hairstyle is. I don't have to tell you. But anyways, it's one of the most iconic hairstyles from them. We all have them. Most of us have one or have had one at one time. It's it's still refreshing to see one. It's always so nice to see someone sport one, you know. But yes, it's the points. It's the point of your bangs that meets into a solid point. It goes like it's like a V shape. There you go. There you go. That's the best way I could describe it for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the photo. You'll see the photo there. I'll show a couple of examples. Glenn had one, Jerry sports one. Doyle's is like he has it, it's really long. Still one of his, it's probably one of the most iconic looks. The band also would one time, you know, in 1982, they would actually get arrested. Now, I don't know if I think they were in attempt of grave robbing or something, but anyways, they were in New Orleans. They were going to Marie Laveau's grave. Now, if you don't know who Marie Laveau is, there's a picture of her. She is the voodoo queen. She is the head honcho of the area, of that area. She is known there. That good? That good? Do you think I need more powder? I think I need powder. Yeah. She is the voodoo queen there. So they would end up, you know, of course, getting arrested because, you know, that's against the law. Can't just do that. Can't do that. And they would make bail. True, it's a true story. They would make bail and they would go to the next town. Go to the next town, play their gig. And they never turned back from there, from that. So that was in 1982. Now, Arthur was once in the band. Here's another little factoid, which is pretty funny. Now, Wikipedia used to, I don't know if it's still up there, but they used to state that Arthur got kicked out of the band because Arthur was in the band. He got kicked out of the band at McDonald's. Now, on an interview with Doyle, Doyle stated he wasn't sure exactly if it was McDonald's, if it, or he either said he wasn't sure if it was a McDonald's or he doesn't remember. But either way, he's not sure what the reason was, but they did get into an altercation about a cheeseburger. Like Arthur apparently wanted another cheeseburger. Glenn said no. There's that. So these are just some of the most known things that have occurred, in the history of Misfits. Just pretty entertaining. Um, they have such they've been around for so long that the history is it's very long, especially with all the lineup changes and everything. We can talk briefly, since we're talking DIY culture as well, we can talk about the Fin Club. Now, I did try to go back and find an interview I heard of from Glenn, and I could not find it again. And it was in reference about the Fin Club, like how it started, how many members. There are plenty of good, like historians that have the details of it, but I'm just gonna go over it real quick. Now, the Fin Club was the original Misfits fan club that they created. Fans would, of course, they would mail in and they would pay a little fee. Huh? I messed that up. They would pay a little fee, and this fee would include perks. I guess that's what we would say the term. We would say perks. Perks. You would get information about the shows, you would get buttons, you would get merchandise, you would get these things. And the reason why I was trying to find that interview is because Glenn actually stated how many people were in the fan club, the Misfits fan club. Now, these, as far as fans paying for these perks, they this would help actually support the band. This would actually help support them going on tour. This would support paying them. This would also help them create the first 7-inch that they had. It's my eyeliner. Had it. My other eyeliner. So this would create perks for them. Use this one. We use this one over here. It's not the one I wanted to use, but it works. Hey, whatever works. The reason why I was trying to find it is because I wanted to find out exactly how many members were in the Fin Club, Business Fin Club. And I do remember it was over 4,000. There was over 4,000 members in it. but I want to say it was under 5,000. So I don't know if it was 4,900 something. I can't directly remember it. And I've been trying to find the amount. So if you know the amount, please comment. Please let me know. Or, just be like, hey, Ash, it was this amount. But there are other YouTubers, accounts that provide like great history and rundowns and retrospectives like on the band, especially by era. Or you can watch some that they discuss the whole history of the Misfits or Misfits. And so that that is what the Fin Club was. Now a lot of the um original members of the band would reunite and start touring. So there was a reunion tour uh, with Glenn, not the other singer, but with the original singer, Glenn Danzig. Doyle is also on tour with his solo band entitled Doyle, fronted by Alex Story. Glenn is also still doing a lot of creative things, that being his comics and his films. He was very influenced by Black Sabbath, Elvis. He loves Elvis. So, yeah, that is the brief rundown story of the first era of the Misfits. I guess we can say that. Just a little rundown, nothing too long. As like I said, I just wanted to discuss it while I was doing my makeup. And then next we can talk about, some of the other horror punk bands. But I felt it was necessary to go over this first before we continue. So, and my hair is pretty much kind of done. I do need to get my blue touched up a little bit. So once again, thank you. I am the universe is you, and you are just as much universe as I am. And if you didn't accomplish anything today, that's okay. There's tomorrow. And if you don't accomplish anything tomorrow, just know there's another day after that. And if no one told you I love you, if no one told you that they loved you today. So all my information, description below. Oh my God, description below. And as we say, long live the horror.